So, I decided to do a live stream this morning because I'm into what you call long hair and coffee talk. So, I have fun making little long hair edited videos and art videos, and I'm actually starting a new drawing. I have fun doing all that, but I do really think live streams are fun and they're good and interactive. And I'm always going to be a big proponent of not being edited, not being curated, like real interaction. And I feel like that's one thing about social media that I just don't get. Like, that doesn't really resonate with me and never shall, because I've been online for years, and back in the day people were not curating every little thing that they said online. They had, websites, forums, but it's just like now with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it's like people feel everything that they post has to be curated. It has to look like it comes out of the studio. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I just like to share my thoughts because that's who I am. And if I do get a bigger place, I'll make a little studio someday. I just honestly, I film in my kitchen because it has the best lighting. And I like to be real. Like, I like to keep things real. Like, I have good lighting in the kitchen, so I film in here. And that really works for me. And I like to have interactive talks, and I don't think that's ever going to change. It's just something I really enjoy doing. So, my channel is about hair, but it's about more than hair. I talk about many things because I would be bored if I felt like I could only post one kind of video or only post a video at certain times. I'm going to post a video whenever I feel like it. Like, I don't want to live stream all the time, but if I'm in the mood to share something that's on my mind, I'm definitely going to live stream. So, this is my thoughts on 2020. Yeah, I know 2020 hasn't been a good year, but consume less of the news. That's going to be my kind of my observation to you. I'm not saying things are perfect, and yeah, people lost their jobs and people have gotten sick. That's the horrible part. But here's the thing about the news. I don't think it's good to consume it, too much of it, because it likes to keep people wrapped up. It likes to keep people feeling uncertain. And, they like to push a headline in a story. And there are you always need to kind of look beneath the surface too. There's always going to be somebody that's making money off whether it's a good economy, uncertainty. I'm kind of tired. Okay, I'm over this whole perpetuation of uncertainty, of divisiveness. Like, look, there's nothing wrong with having different political views, but I think the thing that's just becoming so toxic is they're encouraging us all to stay home, so we're I still work with the public, okay? So I can't completely not interact with people, but like a lot of people can work from home, and there are downsides to it. Like right now in the Inland Empire where I live, all these people that used to live in LA, they never liked it out here, but now they're coming in, they're doing all these grabs on our real estate. I'm like, well, that kind of sucks, but whatever. Um, they can do that. But here's the thing, I just feel like there are people that are invested in keeping everybody feeling uncertain, feeling on edge, and you don't have to participate. You can choose not to, okay? Yeah, it's not going to be the same. Don't do foolish things. Don't do crazy things. Like, don't gather at social gatherings. That's really dangerous. Like, you don't want to get COVID. Have you read the list of, like, all sorts, like some people may be just fine, but you don't know who you're going to spread it to. So be careful. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is what you choose to do when you're not out in the public arena, like find better ways to direct your energy. And yes, everybody can sometimes get down about like the situation, but really just try to focus on crafts, try to focus on things you enjoy, hobbies. That's why my channel, like, and I'm glad I always get really good comments from people who enjoy watching, but that's why I've been more excited about than ever about posting on my channel, because I'm like, you know what? We have a little community here, and over the years, like, I've only ever had, in general, really good feelings about, like, people who comment on long hair videos and people who appreciate long hair. And I really appreciate people who like long hair. And I think it's okay to like something and to want to be unique, whether you be a man or a woman. I also support men that want to have long hair. I think that's cool too. Like, I think it's a great supportive thing. And I just love, like, for me, I like to share my thoughts on long hair and fashion and all that stuff, you know? So you can choose what you want to do with your time. Like, sometimes I mean, occasionally, like, with the way things are in the world, I'll feel kind of like, ugh, like, why did that happen, or why did this happen? Or I might mull over, like I'll mull over the silliest things, but I'm just like, it's just not worth it anymore to me. I feel like I don't want to waste any more of my life doing that. It's just like, how many years of my life have I wasted on the news? I'm not saying you can't like the news, but just stop being so engrossed in it, you know? That's what I say. Let's go see which hair tie I want to use. Okay, so I went to Target the other day and I got this Wild Fable hair tie. I thought about using this one, but this one kind of matches what I'm wearing. It has like a blue undertone to it, but it's purplish as well. Yeah, it's just interesting. I like it. So that's another thing too this year. I've just become more excited and like wanting to pursue new hair product things, finding new hair stuff. Like maybe a little too excited about that. I am not buying every brush, but yeah, I probably bought more scrunchies than I needed. Mm. You never need too many scrunchies. It's funny that scrunchies are back in style because for a while people just thought scrunchies were horrendous and you're like, scrunchies are so unstylish. But it turns out like scrunchies, if you have thicker hair, are great for pulling your hair back. This one is interesting. Like, it seems like it would have a lot of stretch, but it's not super stretchy. If that makes any sense. And I always use a little bit of oil because I keep like we're gonna talk about this on a live stream on Friday, actually, on Aya's channel. So my conclusion is on the whole like shampooing thing. I'm not doing it anymore. And this is what I had done. Like, well, I had co-washed here and there, like maybe every other wash or something, to be honest with you. Like over the years, I don't always use shampoo. A lot of times, like I would go every other wash and do a co-wash. If I do henna, I definitely always do a co-wash. But I guess another thing too about doing henna that I really love about henna is I have dark brown to black hair. Okay, so I love henna because it does condition your hair, but not in a way that people think it does. Like it's not going to be conditioning to your hair like just pure coconut milk would be. It is drying if you don't add something to it. So like before I started doing henna, and I just realized henna worked really well on my hair because I have a very like East Mediterranean, Middle Eastern hair texture. My hair is very thick. I mean, like I've said before, I get my long hair genetics from my mom's side of the family, but my thickness, I think that's from my dad's side of the family. And even though my hair's not curly like my dad's can be when it gets longer, I have like a wavy texture to my hair. And I maybe like some people they've had bad experiences with henna, but I think it's because their hair type maybe it just can't handle it. Although I kind of don't agree with that either because people used henna throughout the history of the world. And I don't know if people know this, but if you look at European history, because I'm a history major, okay, love history to the hiltlands and back. In the 1600s, black hair was the most popular color of hair. How did they achieve black hair back then? Oh, henna first and then indigo. Well, my hair's already dark brown and black, so I just like to use henna to give it red highlights in the sun. And it kind of does make like the tips of my hair a little bit more red, but it is conditioning in that it adds strength to your hair, but you do need to add like some sort of oil to it. And I would never put lemon in it. Oh my god. Like so like when I do henna, I do like coconut milk, henna, and some coffee, okay? And maybe a little bit of essential oil to where it smells good, but lots of coconut milk, so it's very hydrating and it will still kind of give you that conditioning, that protein treatment. And here's another thing too I was noticing with henna. Like, yeah, it is maybe it's a little drying, but this is just my observation from henna versus shampooing your hair. If you just henna your hair and then you like follow up with a conditioner wash, some people even wash it out with, I don't know, coconut milk or oil. When you follow up with that, like your hair actually, it's almost just like using shampoo but less drying. So I haven't been like using henna every month, but I kind of am interested and intrigued with kind of going Middle Eastern on my henna adventure. Women in Saudi Arabia, women in Yemen, women in India, women in Lebanon. Look at the Roman Empire, Carthage. They have accounts of women using henna on their hair. There are stories of the Mediterranean where people had a henna finger. So, like, I don't know. I kind of like make a joke that henna is encoded in my DNA. Plus, my last name Hannah sounds like henna. Is that weird or not? And some people have said like that name, even though it means John in Arabic, have said like it's kind of similar. It has something to do with like dying. Like it's interesting the whole origins of that last name. But I'm not saying that my last name is Henna, but I could be Hannah Henna. I always joke about that. Like so I like henna because like I think for my hair texture it really works, but I think it can work for anybody's hair texture who's interested in it. But here's the difference. Like I use like the real Ayurvedic USDA organic henna. And my obsession with henna began at a young age when I was 15 because I always was intrigued by the Middle East being, I don't know, part Middle Eastern. And I was reading stories. And there's even accounts, I believe, in the Bible where they say, like, point to somebody having put henna in their hair. It's very ancient practice. People have done it for centuries. It's a natural plant and it's good for your hair. But if you have finer hair or like a more, I would say like European hair texture, I don't think henna is always good for you, maybe. Like, but I think for people that have thicker hair, like it's nourishing. Although there are people, the thing about henna with lighter hair, I don't know if I would recommend it because I just kind of like the red highlights in the sun and the strengthening it adds to my hair. Also, I'm on a new hair journey, you see, a new one. This is my new hair journey. I used to do henna maybe every other month or something, or every 3 months. But now that I've decided to go back to co-washing, I'm probably going to do henna a little bit more often, maybe every 2 weeks or once a month. And just kind of my conjecture, like it's an experiment. Like I just like to try different things with my hair. This is just kind of where I feel like it's going with this is that what I'm experiencing or seeing with the henna is it seems like this could be a replacement for shampoo. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like, not that I want to strip my hair, but that's just kind of the direction I'm going with henna. So I've been doing henna for quite a few years now. Actually, before my hair it was even getting super long, I've been doing henna since 2015. But I want to be honest with you, like I do get a lot of growth, a lot of really good results. But if you're having bad results from henna, it could be that you're allergic to henna. But I love henna. Like I just, and it's not even to dye my hair because my hair is actually darker if I don't use henna. I just like the red highlights in the sunshine, and I love how it just strengthens my hair, and that's my hair treatment of choice. Yes, you're right. Henna is from India, but it was also used in the Middle East because traders brought it to the Middle East and they did grow some of it in the Middle East too, but there's a more ancient tradition of using henna in India. And I think about it, the thing about India is that you guys have some of the best hair in the world. Like your women have some of the most beautiful hair in the world and they put henna on their hair. So like all these like there's a lot of I don't know, like a lot of hairdressers really hate henna like and I think they don't want people to use henna because like they think it's going to put them out of business. But like right now, if you can't go to the hairdresser and you're sick of chemical hair dyes, like I don't know about other people, but the few times I used to go to the hair salon, I would feel nauseous if I walked in there because it smells like chemicals. And I don't even know how people could work in there all day, like just inhaling those fumes. It's just very smelly. And I don't really like smelly things. Like even when it comes to art projects and crafts, I did epoxy recently and I didn't like it because it was smelly. So I tend to not want to like use chemicals or do things that are chemical based all the time because it's not really good for you long term. I just don't know how people can work in a hair salon and not get sick. But I think personally, I have allergic reactions to hair dyes because I did dye my hair once years and years ago. Yeah, that's true, but I buy my henna from India, you see. So like you can buy your henna from other countries, but you're right. Like I don't like this Botoxy chemical thing, and you're absolutely right. That's actually what the one hairstylist was talking about on YouTube. It was interesting. She was telling people that they shouldn't use like henna because the commercial hair dye could create like an even tone, and that seems to be a big topic. Like even Brad Mondo, he did a whole thing kind of about henna, and he was actually more open minded about it than some of the hairstylists. Like he actually seemed to be curious about it and watched a few people's reviews of henna, but he kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't look like an even tone." But I'm thinking, I thought a few years ago they were saying, "Oh, you need to get highlights because if you dye your hair, it's too even of a tone, and highlights make it more natural." So henna is natural and it brings out your natural highlights. Wouldn't that be better than I don't know. People are funny like that, right? Message retracted. I was agreeing with what you were saying. I don't know why you took your message back. I was just saying you're absolutely right. I didn't disagree with you, but that's okay. Anyway, I don't know. No, I don't use Head and Shoulders though because, like I was saying, I just like to use more gentle conditioner now. Anyway, these are just my thoughts on hair. I like to experiment, but I kind of have intuition too from things I've tried and knowing what works well with my hair. Okay, what is it that I said? What was antisocial about my comments? I didn't say anything antisocial. What I said was people need to be careful due to COVID-19 and you probably don't want to be going out and like socializing because I don't know if people know what's going on in the world, but like where I live in California, a lot of people are getting sick from COVID. So I don't think I said anything antisocial. I like to talk to people, but I didn't say anything antisocial. I think you're confused, maybe, Anthony, because all I was saying was people need to be careful and like going out and socializing with a lot of people isn't a good idea. Like, I don't know. Like, I think people are being too cavalier about this, especially in my state. Like, I don't want people to be fined for like getting together, but you shouldn't like just be cautious. Like, people, they can't wait a year or two or three to see what's going on. I don't know. I'm just intrigued what you meant by that. But also too, like I am nice and I'm friendly to people, but I'm not a party animal. And I guess you wouldn't, I guess nobody's going to know that from a YouTube video. I like to talk to people, but I'm not the kind of person that's going out and socializing and having big parties. Like, I don't have big parties, like, I never did. So I have a smaller circle of friends in my real life. So I don't think I said anything contradictory. I didn't make any antisocial comments, so that's so funny. You have to set men straight sometimes. You see, sometimes I get confused. You could go back, but you're wrong anyway. So trying to judge people less. That's what I say. I just am like, really? It's okay. I don't know. I just am like, yeah, maybe there. I guess what it is that how do I put it this way? Um, I think some people just have too much of a maybe they don't have like an idea of what it means to be more of an introverted person, that you can be friendly, but you don't need to be like socializing with a lot of people. And I'm not really sure, like, if you're American, I think a lot of people have a hard time with this idea that because in America, we're a very open culture. Yeah, that's why I try not to have impressions of people. Like, it's not, I try not to make an assumption about people. It'll kind of save you in the long run. Like, I guess, how do I put it this way? Like, my best friend, she really impresses me because she would always be like, she just accepts people for who they are. And it's good not to make first impressions of people because I think people, or if you do, go ahead. But I'm just like, I don't have time for that kind of thing, I guess. It's just weird, like, to me. But I also too, maybe it's a more introverted thing because when you're an introverted person, you're friendly to people, but you're not always worried about like pleasing other people and doing things to please people in a certain way. And you know what is true is that yeah, I don't try to conform to a lot of things that other people think make them like accepted. So maybe that part is true. Maybe that's what you're getting. Like I don't know. That's fine. I mean, it's whatever you think. Like, I just maybe I shouldn't have taken that the wrong way. So thanks for sharing that. But my question is like, why, on the other hand, why do people need to be super social? I guess this is my next thought is if somebody says, here's another thought on this. If somebody did like make a video where they weren't being super social and super outgoing, like at the end of the day, if you enjoy watching their video, why does it matter? Or if you know a person in real life and maybe they're not super social, maybe you won't get to know a good quality person because you're hung up on thinking that they're not making certain kinds of comments. I don't know. It's interesting. I just say maybe people need to get past that way of thinking. Yeah, that's what I think. Okay, that's cool. Hola, Sebastian. ¿Cómo está usted? Yo voy trabajadora un hour. Mi español es muy, muy pequeña. Yeah, I do. It's if you look at my website, website, my my YouTube profile, it's on there. It's long hair and my SoCal adventures. It's a really long name though. Let's see. The weather is so erratic here in Southern California. Like it was raining, literally cats and dogs yesterday. I mean, the heavens just opened up and they deluged the streets, and now it's sunny again. Okay. Yeah. We always get a random comment in there. I don't think I'm delicious, like, because I'm not a popsicle, you see. So maybe they got their topic mixed up. Usually those comments are getting hidden by the moderation. Like there were a few the other day that were really bad, and the moderation caught them, and I'm like, oh, okay, like Like there were some comments I was like, I mean, I get it, like whatever, but it's not that kind of channel. Like, and I was like, okay, like, but you got caught in moderation, so like you were put on timeout, and it was funny. Like this one person, like they kept writing these things, and I was like, oh, okay, like. There are places you can go if that's what you're looking for. YouTube is not it. I was like, oh, okay. Like it kept running, but it kept like none of their comments were being shown and they just kept going. I don't know. Like maybe they thought that somebody saw that. I was like, okay, that's awesome for you. You wrote a novel to yourself. It all went into the spam box. It was pretty funny, like, but I'm just like, yeah, weird. There's always some. I have a lot of comments I've had to like just delete and that's another thing too I was going to talk about was like I think it's fine if people moderate their comments because some comments get really out of hand. And somebody was calling out a major YouTuber because she would moderate her comments, and somebody was mad that she deleted a comment that asked. Well, first off, her videos are not like interactive ones; they're more just about skincare. It's not a real person, it's an algorithm. So like YouTube's amped it up a bit. And a lot of the really, really, really bad ones, they just go into a box like where you can check it, where it'll show me, like I'll see it on my end, but they won't see it. And like this one person just kept writing stuff. It was pretty crazy too. Like they just kept writing some real far out their stuff and it just kept like going into this spam box. And I don't know. I could think after 4 or 5 comments, like they kind of got the hint that like nobody responded to them. So it's an algorithm, but you can also too like you can go in and tell it like more words if you want. I personally like I try not to censor people because I'm like unless it's just dumb, like if it's a dumb or evil comment, like or just really malicious, like yeah, then I'll delete it. Like I've had some comments that were just really out there, or they're okay. There's another kind of comment I do have to delete a lot. It's these pretend YouTube accounts, like they come to everybody's videos, and like they're these like it's weird because the avatar is like it looks like a stripper or something, and they'll say things like, oh, I'm lonely, be my boyfriend. And I'm like, I'm not a guy, like, and they will mass comment on everybody's YouTube videos, and I think they're a bots or something. I don't know what they are, but those I've had to manually delete because YouTube hasn't been very good at catching those. Or there would be ones that would keep trying to like post links to some sort of X-rated website in the comments, and I had to delete those manually. But they are getting better at catching more of it, but some of it they weren't catching. It's just funny, like what does get through. I'm like, okay. But you can, like, if you have a YouTube channel, you can set it to like be very specific. But a lot of the big YouTubers, they just if they're like a skin channel or something, like this one woman, she does skincare. And I guess like she wanted to keep conversation on point on her channel. So she deleted some comments where the people asked like what her sign was. And I'm thinking somebody was upset about that. And I'm like, but that's not the topic of her channel. She wasn't talking about astrology. And they got mad that I guess she deleted these comments. And I'm thinking, well, that's the thing too. Even though like I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, um, I try not to be overzealous in deleting comments. I do try to give people the benefit of the doubt in general. Um, I don't really care if other channels delete things. Like, why? Like, why do people like? They actually took. I don't know if people remember this, but a lot of the news articles used to have comments, and now they've taken them away on a lot of news articles because people got into some crazy debates in the comments, and it just got to be a liability. Like, I don't know if people remember that, but yeah, even if you look at news articles nowadays, they don't always have comments anymore because people just couldn't behave themselves in the comments. And also too, just like on Facebook, I've stopped looking at a lot of those threads. I think they've just taken it over to Facebook where like there'll be an ad for something like COVID vaccine trial, and people are getting into some really crazy debates in the comments, and I'm like, okay. Like, do you guys know that you're debating on an ad? It's kind of funny. Like, I'm like, oh, anyhow. Yeah, yes and no. Like, okay, I have some thoughts on that. Like, too, this is my take on that. I don't buy into the Democrat versus Republican thing because a lot of our discourse that got off point started about 20 years ago. We used to have independent candidates, third party candidates, and I just think like I've been disappointed that we haven't been inviting third party candidates to debates. Um, I didn't vote for the Democrat or Republican one. I'm libertarian personally, and I know a lot of people who are Green Party. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Biden either. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. He really concerns me. But yeah, that's another thing too. I don't really buy into all that. Like, oh yeah, everything's going to be so much better. Like with this presidency, there's things about Joe Biden I'm really have a lot of questions about. Just being like one of the his foreign policy, I'm concerned about that. And I just want more of a non-interventionist, like more libertarian idea on where we don't always have to be going into other countries and just some of his takes. And whereas I don't love Trump, I didn't love Trump. The economy up until the pandemic was actually pretty good. Like here in California, it was we had lower unemployment here up until the pandemic. So I don't really like the way Trump handled the pandemic, but I don't buy into one party is better than the other. So that's the narrative too. Like I like to look at things from different angles. And also, I know people just abroad, like, I've talked to them too, and they're like, why are Americans so obsessed with our elections? Like, why are we always talking about our elections and our political process? What about things that are happening in other countries? So, I want things to improve, but yeah, I'm not really that all up in the air and happy about, like, I'm not excited for a Democratic presidency either. Like, I want to see some good third party candidates in the next presidential debate. And if Americans are strong cooking up for open dialogue, we will invite Green Party people and libertarians to presidential debates in the future. And it's been a problem the way that the two parties monopolize. That's how we ended up with like Trump and Clinton, because I don't think Clinton should have ran, and I really didn't think Biden was the good choice either. So yeah, I don't really buy into all of that. Like, Trump has his issues, but Biden has his too. So I wouldn't really. I'm not on. I take more of a independent stance on that. You know. Well, another thing about that too is I don't even think anybody should be able to make silly comments on Twitter. I don't think his account should be deleted or anybody's really, but if he can't behave himself, like, yeah. But here's the thing, he shouldn't have been allowed to do that as president. Nobody should be allowed to break Twitter's rules. They shouldn't make exceptions for anybody, you know? And that was a mistake. I thought years ago, like, okay, that's the thing, like, this is my criticism of Democrats. You spent all your time like obsessed with him, and then the Republicans spend all their time like thinking he's the best thing on earth. But here's us libertarians or Green Party people, like, we're like, what about other issues, like real issues in this country that we never talk about? And just look, the stimulus bill did have some issues. It did. Like, we really shouldn't be sending funds overseas. Like, I don't love Trump. He has issues, but when a lot of people are unemployed, how can you justify, like, oh, we have a stimulus foreign aid package like for other countries, but people in our country only deserve the $600 bonus? And I don't like Trump either. Like, I'm not his fan, but I think Democrats spent way too much time being obsessed with him, and Americans didn't talk about other countries enough. Like, we are way too obsessed with our own political process. That's part of the issue too. I think Democrats and Republicans need to kind of, they're gonna need to like ease off the egos a bit and start to think, well, what are we doing wrong? Like, both of us on both sides, you know? More thinking outside the box, sort of, so to speak. I like Bernie Sanders. Like, okay, this is the one thing I like about him on foreign policy, but when it comes to like fiscal issues, I am more of a libertarian. But I do agree with Bernie Sanders. He's very, very good on foreign policy. I would just like to see small businesses, because right now, this is the truth about the Democrats. They're very centrist, they're very corporate, they're into corporate businesses, and they're not, like, a lot of mom and pop businesses have gone out of business in California. That's just how it is. And the people who are going to win are going to be Amazon and Walmart. And mark my words, Hillary Clinton was on the board of Walmart. So if anybody thinks like, oh, the Democrats are on our side, they really care about us, they really don't. They're very corporate. Maybe not Bernie. Bernie is a good guy, but I'm not even on the progressive side. I'm on the libertarian side. So I do agree with you on some things, but yeah, I just want a world where we have more free market choice. And that's kind of the thing that's been lost. And of course, with the pandemic, they're going to have to bail people out. And honestly, like, I'm not against government or anything like that. I actually like libertarians who were saying that we need to implement universal basic income. And it was the California libertarian presidential candidate who first like was on board with that. And then you had one Democrat who actually was kind of wanting that. So I like the idea of universal basic income, and I think that's something they're going to have to implement in the US, because with just more unemployment, more small businesses just going under. So those are just some of my thoughts on that. I just look to other, like, yeah, so I don't know, like, I'm not going to be all excited about this new presidency. I don't think it's going to be that wonderful. Maybe we'll have a better Twitter account. We won't have a crazy Twitter account. Um, but I have a lot of concerns about the economy. But hopefully the economy gets better. I just am going to say I'm not going to think like this is the beginning of a golden age because I don't see it that way either. I actually am like, this election sucked. It really did. It was not a good election. I couldn't say. I kind of like Jo Jorgensen a little bit, the Libertarian candidate, but I didn't even like her that much. I'm like, why couldn't we have somebody like Gary Johnson? Like, I liked him. I was Team Gary Johnson. See, so I'm liberal on the social issues, but um, fiscally sound. That's my take on it. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.